I've assembled on this tray all the parts that we need to complete the manufacture of the Twin Spin Spinnerbait. But before we get into that, I want to give our viewers who think the twin spin concept is cool but really have no intention of, you know, pouring their own lead and painting it and doing everything else, tying your own skirts on there. If you have no intention of doing any of that, I do have a product to recommend, and it's, I think they're out of Virginia. It's Dave's Tournament Tackle, and that is a twin spin. I'm going to show you real quick. This one's a 1/2 ounce. He uses thinner wire than I do, and the thickness of the wire, I think, it can be important in whether you're getting bites or not. But this one's a really good, more open water design, and he's got lots of the willow blades on there with individual bends. Dave's Tournament Tackle, I forget what the specific model he calls this one. They're out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Dave's Tournament Tackle, and has a phone number on there, 336-883-6076. But if you do a search for Dave's Tournament Tackle, I guess they call it the Bullseye, but it's a twin spin and it's a good one. Caught some nice fish on it. But because I'm going into really super heavy cover, I'm going to put Dave's Bullseye twin spin aside here, and we're going to get into making our own. And it actually, I'm going to say it starts with the modification, the Dremel tool modification of your Do It mold, but it actually starts before that. You have to make these forms where you put two of the R-bend wires together and you get that hook on there. But you don't even put the hook on until you've really made these two. I gotta find my remote and show you what's unique about putting two different R-bends together. So the R-bend wire forms they come like this. Let me zoom in. So if you see that, trying to get two individual wires like that lined up and sitting just so inside the mold, it's nearly impossible, right? I mean, you have to make where these lay down in the mold twice as thick, and we're gonna do that in a moment with the Dremel tool. We're gonna get the wheel and cut grooves in there. But before we even do that, we have to make these, which are two of them together. And the key to doing it is you have that split ring at the top. I got a cat screwing with my tray. He thinks there's some interesting things up there. So you get that, you see that split ring at the top, and to keep that split ring when you're casting it, when you're done with it, from sliding down towards the lead head or sliding up and constricting what eventually you're gonna split into two different places where you have two different swivels and two different blades spinning, which are your kickstands for the bait when it lays down, and it's also the, you know, what deflects off the branches when it comes through heavy brush. And that's really what this is designed for. You got to get them together, and you start with, I don't know if you saw it at the top there, we take, and it's actually oxygen tubing, but I won't even say where I got it. You can go to the store, you can go to the hardware store and get this kind of tubing. So you cut little sections like that, and all that is a way to, you mash that down onto the R-bend and then you put the split ring on there. So let's do that. So I'm gonna get my two R-bend wires together, and I've cut a pile of those, the oxygen tubing, It doesn't have to be oxygen tubing. It's whatever you got, whatever you can get at the hardware store. But it's the right size to fit right on the end of the R-bend, and you can see that it's covering the whole thing, and you want it that way. It should be, what I'm going to do next should be difficult. So you're using your fingernails or however you can mash it down there, and it wants to slide up. If it wants to slide up, that's good, but you're looking to get enough of a, you know, a gap there that you can put the split ring on there. And let's see if I can find a split ring here that's the right size. This one's pretty big. The bigger they are, the easier they are, but again, it's something else that can, you know, when you're coming through that brush, I don't know, I kind of like it narrow, but these will go on there pretty well. So you get that, and usually you mash it on there. You can use split ring pliers. Sometimes I'll use a hook to try and open them. Let's do that. So just one of these spinnerbait hooks, and it just opens it enough like that. It's about to go slinging off into the grass somewhere. It's all right, I got a pile of them. And then with a little bit, with it open just a hair, I'm just sliding it on there, and then I pull the hook out. If you're good with split ring pliers, do split ring pliers. But you can see I just started that, and I'm gonna finish by sliding it the rest of the way. And now that split ring isn't gonna slide down to the head or up to where you put the spinnerbait blades. So the reason we do a pile of these first is because we're gonna have to use a Dremel tool and cut. Let's see if I can show you where we're gonna cut. We're essentially gonna get it so that you can close this mold. Easier said than done, all of it. Again, Dave's Tournament Tackle makes a really nice twin spin, but I don't know, I like making my own stuff. I'm putting the hook on here. Sometimes you can only get one of those on there, and that's okay. If I can jam both of these on there without embedding a hook into my finger, I'm gonna do it. The other way to do it is actually with a split ring inside the mold, but that makes it complicated. All right, I think I got 2 of them in there. I'll bend that a little bit. So I got that on there. That's actually the shorter shaft one, and this one's the longer shaft. It's got a narrower gap, and it's a little bit further back. This is a pretty big gap, but it's far enough up towards here that it's pretty good to come through that brush. So here's what I wanted to show you, and this is the next step, and here's why we do all of this R-bend, double R-bend stuff ahead of time. It's not in there exactly right, but you can kind of see how it lays in there. That hook isn't right. If I try closing this now to start pouring lead, what do you see? A big gap. You can see me through there. It's not good. So what we got to do, really the reason there's a gap is the hook is in the way. But even if I move the hook down, which I just did, it's not good. Like, I have to cut this groove a little bit, not a lot, because if you cut it a lot, it's this little part here. Actually, yeah, I'm using the 5/8 ounce one. So that little, where the R-bend goes, right in there, we're gonna take this up to the shop, modify our mold, and then that will go right in there. I'm thinking though, before we go up to the shop and modify the mold with the Dremel tool and the cutting wheel, we should look here and just run through all of the different parts. So you got the do-it mold itself. You have obviously the hooks. These are spinnerbait hooks. They're the short shank. You got the two R-bend wires. You got two of them there. You got the little oxygen tubing things, and you got these split rings that go up right up at the top. When that's done, it kind of, this is one I did a long time ago. I never put blades on it, but that's really what we're looking at. This one got eyes on it, and I actually eventually will put these eyes on there after I powder paint it, and I got some gold powder paint there. And then at the end of each wire you have two individual swivels, and two, in this case they're I think they're number 4 or 4.5 hammered Colorados. And we got our skirts. This is my favorite skirt material to imitate bluegill. Let me turn that around. You can see that. I think I got these, or I got a lot of stuff at Lower Parts Online. And I used that on the belly. And then this is a different color that I kind of counter shade with, and that becomes the back of it. And it's windy and I'm losing stuff. If you wanted to do the easier route, you can get these. These are pre-fabricated. You just kind of shove it on there and you're done. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tie them on with this thread and, you know, seal it up. That's just how I do it. When we're done, when we put the, when we have to bend the end of this, so you kind of bend, you spread these apart. I'm having trouble doing it one-handed, but you got to bend that into like a half circle so that you can get these little swivels on there, and so they stay put. This wire bender is the tool I use to do that. Okay. Let's grab the Dremel and the mold. We're going to go up and we're going to cut some stuff up. So that's the cutting wheel I'm going to do to cut the channel in that. We'll just go ahead and slide that down there. That's going to spin. And I'm going to lay it as it's spinning very gently, touching there on this side, and then on the other side I'm going to touch it there, and that's just going to give that a deeper channel for the R-bend to fit right in there for two of them. So need more room, we're going to make more room. What we're doing. Yep, that's the one we're doing. Alright, we're laying that in there. I'm going to swing this side over. And sometimes, oh, I can already tell that's good. See how that gap in there has disappeared. That hook's secure where it needs to be. We're done. We have effectively modified the spinner jig mold. It's 1/2 and 5/8. I'm using the heavier one. You're doubling up on the resistance of the spinnerbait blades. It's going to have a lot more lift, so you need more weight. I'll even go to ounce, ounce and a quarters with these. Sometimes if I'm fishing them, you know, anything deeper than say 10 feet, I do want that 3/4 or 1 ounce. But these I'm gonna fish shallow on wood, so 5/8 is a good weight to work with. Let's go pour them up. So before we start pouring the lead, I'm gonna get a little bit of this stuff. Clean cast lead flexing compound. Keeps my keeps the spout clear. And it brings all that stuff to the top. The oxidation, the stuff you don't really want to foul up in your pouring spout. So just mixing that around with my spoon. And we'll bring some of those impurities up to the top, and I'll set those aside for proper disposal. The pouring spout may be fouled anyways, and another cool way to clean it out, this is actually a tiny little spinnerbait wire. You can use a paper clip too, and I use that. This is actually the wires from a crappy size spinner, so that's a fairly narrow diameter wire, and I'm gonna jam it up in there. What that does is it heats up that wire, and then I got this candle which also fluxes, and just touch it to it, gets a little bit of that wax on there, and jam it up in there. I can see it kind of smoldering. What that does is it just keeps that pour spout clean. Yep. And we set that aside in case we have to do it again. So I got the mold here. I'm going to use the 5/8 ounce size here, and I'm going to pour some lead in there even though I've got no hook in there, and I'm going to pour it along the top. And all I'm doing is heating up this mold. I'm going to pour the other side, which we're not pouring that cavity. And that just warms it up. Warming up your molds is just something that helps you have good pours. Dump it right back in there. I'll do it a second time. Get that sucker warmed up. Get some good pours out of this. My pour spout's looking all right. Like it wants to cooperate. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to use this time to give a plug to a Facebook group that I started for Do It Molds, and it's called Do It Molds Tackle Crafters. A lot of good custom bait guys making cool stuff, offering it up for sale and teaching others how to do the same. So, alright, I've laid that in there. I'm going to close it, stick it under there, and you want speed. You want it coming out fast. It's dripping a little bit. Ready, set, all at once. Straight in there, and then shut it off. We'll see how I did. So I think that's a good looking pour. I'm going to pull that out and set it aside and crank out the other. I think I have 7 of these ready to go. Then we'll set up to I'm actually going to modify the heads once we're done pouring. I'll show you how I'm going to make it so that the eyes that I got fit on there really nicely before we powder paint it. I'm going to shape these heads a little bit. Oh, that got me a little bit on the splatter. That happens. Alright, so one thing I'm going to point out though, if you have trouble getting both of the R-bend in there, it's okay just to use, it's not focusing, is it? Come on now. it's okay to just do one. If you just do one, that's adequate. You don't need both of those hooks in there. If it's being difficult, don't worry about making sure you get both. It'll still pour and it'll still hold your fish. Don't worry about it. As long as you got one of them. Sometimes you gotta tug on this to get it to settle, just so. If it's not, and it isn't in this case, you can tell because there's that gap. I don't like that gap. I gotta pull it out and start over again. But I'll get these poured up and then we're gonna hammer the heads. All right, before we take these up to the vise, these are actually, these are manicure. These are like heavy duty manicure or pedicure toenail cutting dikes or whatever. I don't know what you call these things, but you get them at, you know, where the nail care stuff is at like the drugstore, and they do really good on the lead. So, all right, we'll finish trimming off all the sprue of these. We're gonna stick these in a vise and give this head, which wasn't really designed to accept a 3D eyeball, give it a flat space on the side of that round surface to really be able to stick a 3D eye and then paint it and then epoxy it in place. So the goal here is to be able to create a surface big enough for this style 3D eye to fit on there, and also to give this rounded surface a little bit of flatness, because I like for the bait to come down and to be able to settle and not kick over real hard. It's gonna kick over, and that's okay, because we're gonna split these apart and they're gonna kind of be kickstands to keep that hook from really catching in the wood. Really, it comes at the wood with these split apart like that, and it protects that from snagging. So, but I do want to shape the head. So all I'm doing is coming in. Am I gonna be able to do it with this vise? I might not be able to. Let me see if I come in this way. No, it's missing a grip there. All right, I don't know why these are out. I'll go ahead and lay these in here. There was a reason why these were out. I don't know what the reason was, but we're gonna lay these flat side in, not grip side, and I like to lay it it's a complication I wasn't ready for. I don't know why those are out. There is a reason. All right, so I'm coming in this way. All right, so I'm gonna come in there and just tighten these a little bit. Give that a whack. Flattening the bottom. Also flatten the sides just a hair. Let's take a look. All right. See how that's flattened just a little bit there. It's got that rust on there. And so is this side. Same thing. It's just flattened enough. I'm going to do some more work with these. See if I can't do a better job. Kind of shaping that to be rounded, kind of come around the wood real nice. That doesn't look real pretty yet. We'll get some paint on there And we're gonna do a size check to see, hey, is that gonna work? Yeah, so that's protected. That I'm happy with. So there's a flat space, and the leading edge of it is not a part where this eye is going to get knocked off once I epoxy it in place, once it's painted. That's good. I'm going to do the rest of them like that, and we'll go and get back to the pouring station where I have a fluid bed and a heat gun. We're going to paint these heads up gold. So, something I want to point out. I'm designing this for coming through the wood. This is a wood-based spinnerbait. If I was really looking at it as something that would bash through rock, I'd design this differently. And I'd be modifying this head a little bit differently. Like I said, I'm designing it so I get the eyeballs on there. But if you look at and you think through what's going to come into contact, say my fingers here, my dirty fingers, look at them, or the branches. It comes in, and mind you, this is going to be split. There's two different ways that this is going to keep that hook point from ending up embedded in wood, throwing it into brush, into a log jam. As it comes up, it's going to ride up there, and there's a little bit of a bump that it's going to kick up. Again, we're trying to lift that up away from whatever wood there is. So that's one way. As it comes up, there's these on either side. So if you have some other little branch, I'm not doing this right, there, it's going to deflect that way. That showed it good. It's coming up over one, it's going to kick this way, and then the second one, it's not going to catch on because it's going to deflect that way and go beyond and keep going. And hopefully you drop it down on the other side, and those big Colorado blades are going to spiral down. And as you come across wood, you're bringing it in, you feel that it's popped over wood. The best thing you can do, it's already come up over it, and you let it drop straight down. On that drop, you just stop reeling and let it pendulum swing down. That's usually when they jam it. We're gonna get on the river here in a couple days. Hopefully I can show you how that works. As I'm kind of tapping down any of the little rough edges here, I can already see the question coming in the comments. What's the one that looks, or what's the one you would design for rocky structure? What does that look like? We want to see that one made, Jeff. I'm not going to do it. Reason is I already did, and I offered it through Confidence Baits. I designed it. It worked. It works great. And I still have a pile of them made. And it's called the Dragon Spinnerbait. It was basically the same head shape as the 3/8 ounce dragon head that Roy Kinna with Confidence Baits, who was I was partnered up with him in that business, and now he owns it 100%. We made them. They didn't sell. That always happens. Stuff that works, people look at it and think, that looks weird, I don't want it. Well, it works. I still use them from time to time. Chuck Vinson uses them. Chuck. Hi, Chuck. All right, let's go paint. All right, I got two things going on there, and I got to get centered on there right to show you both. Right here, that is a fluid bed with powder paint, and right back here is a heat gun pointed upwards. So, the trick that we have to overcome is finding a way to get that whole thing down in there and paint the head, which I think we did. There's enough powder paint in there. So, all right, Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have a spinnerbait wire and head that just is not going to fit in there, and sometimes you want to like bend that to shape it in a way that you test it and you know you can get in there. But this one's compact enough. I think it's going to work just fine. So we start by heating the lead. We turn it over back and forth. And really it's just making that surface ready to accept the powder paint. And that's what you get. So we got the gold color in there. All right, that's what we ended up with. I'm gonna heat it again just to make sure that it sticks to it pretty good. Another fun thing you can do, let me see if I can find some green. So this is green, and I'm going to heat this up. We're going to do some counter shading. So we're heating up the gold, and we're going to take, I'm just going to get a little pinch of green and just sprinkle it. That gives it a sort of a natural, you know, green is the top color of the top of the bait fish's head, and then gold stays on the bottom. And you know, it's a very natural looking color. We'll get that eyeball in there and that'll look very much like a bait fish. Alright, I'm going to finish these other ones. I am putting them in the oven. We're going to cure them just a little bit, not too long because we get that plastic piece in there. Now, before I wrap this up, I've done 6 of the 8 in the gold. I'm going to take the gold one off and I'm putting black on. I'm just for the heck of it. I'm changing the bed to give myself a couple black ones just to see, hey, if there's some really muddy water and I want to switch over to black, I got 2 black ones I can play with. That black with that big old gold eye on there is going to look good. No counter shading needed on this one, it's just black. Alright, brought everything inside. Got the heads there. Gonna get these 3D eyes on there. Gonna press them on. I gotta get some epoxy. I might use some Gorilla Glue. That stuff's some good stuff. Just to make sure that it stays on there real good. The adhesive eyes are, you know, they're not gonna stay on there on their own. Yeah, they got some sticky on them, but it's really not enough to get them to stay there very long. But that's a great looking start. Very nice looking bait so far. Alright, I'm gonna finish putting the rest of these eyes on there and we'll glue them, epoxy them, whatever. I don't know. I used to get the stuff where you would paint the clear coat on, and you can certainly do that with like clear nail polish is an easy way to do it. This one I'm looking down on, it's not going to run straight. I don't know if you can see that. I gotta tweak that just a little bit. I'm just bending both wires in one direction. You can actually tune them when you're on the water too. This one I started to split, but we're not quite to that step yet. Alright, let me finish with the eyes, then we'll come back to making sure that they stay on there, and then we're going to tie some skirts, and then we're going to bend the wires with this thing, and then put our swivels and our hammered Colorado blades on there. These are going to be for cold water. I mean, it's almost November, and I think, you know, it just made sense for me to not do some with willow or Indiana. Indiana's a great blade for the twin spin, but I wanted to go into winter with something that I can keep chucking, let it sit on the bottom, then roll through some wood. Get those deep brush piles of good shaking in the middle of January. See what wakes up and smacks it. Before we go too much further, I did want to point out all that shaping of the head. I'm going to bend the wire to the side so you can kind of look down on it. You can see, and if my camera wants to focus, that looking top down you can see both eyes, and then you look from the bottom, you don't see them. And that's because this kind of leading edge has a rim, and that really, the reason I did that is to protect them from when they hit stuff, you know, just to protect that eye so it doesn't get knocked off. And I think it's gonna work. I know it's gonna work because I've done it before. Alright, I think I'm gonna go with the Gorilla Glue. I've wet a paper towel, and it's weird, it's counterintuitive, but wetting the surface that you're going to glue is actually how this stuff works. I thought it was just crazy the first time I read the directions on this stuff. But it works, it's good stuff. Could use a clear nail polish, and there's even some products that are specifically designed for it, but that's gonna keep those eyeballs on there really nice and firm. So I will come back after a little while. These will be set up. I'll flip them over, do the other side. Alright, got a pile of these ready. I'm gonna set those down. I got this one right here. So let's work on tying a skirt on there first. As I mentioned earlier, I like this, what is it called? One's gold bait fish, the other is natural pumpkin bait fish. There it is. And then the gold bait fish, that one is on the belly. So tying, you know, every time I do one of these I have someone saying, we need to buy you a vise. No, vices are like, to me, like putting a kayak on a trailer. I'd much rather put it in the 8-foot bed. It's just easier for me to tie by hand without worrying about a vise. I don't know, it helps some people, and that's cool. I'm good without it. I'm happier without it. So you take the skirt layer and you stick it on there, and I may tie these pretty thick. In other words, I'm gonna put maybe even 4 of these on there just to make them real thick. So I did the top one first, and now I'm gonna do the gold one on the belly. I turn it over so it's belly up. I mean, it's gonna have a blend of all colors, but the belly should be predominantly lighter, and the gold does that. So I'm just wrapping that around. Bring this one back in, finish off the top. And, you know, like I said, I want this to be really full. So I'm gonna go back in with one more just overall gold. I just reordered a whole mess of these because it's the same sort of color scheme that I do for my jackhammer customization. But they're this setup, this color setup, I think accurately mimics so many different panfish, bluegill, pumpkin seed, shellcracker, whatever you want to call them. All right. I mean, they're all different, but they all have a lot of gold and some green in it. Anyhow, got that on there. 2 half hitches. Maybe 3. Let's do 3. And we'll get some flyhead cement on there. Just a little dab. Get on there. And put some on the top too. Trim off the thread. And then just start cutting the loops, wherever you find a loop. Free it up. Then we're going to go after, let's see if I got them all. Did I get them all? I've tied these and got out on the water and realized there's still like 3 or 4 that are still connected. There's 2. Alright, let's take a look at this. It's a pretty good looking, you know, tell me that doesn't look like a bluegill. I'm hoping the bass think it looks like one. Nice. Alright, now we're going to move on to splitting these, and usually there's one that wants to go right and one that wants to go left. I just hand bend them out, and I will, in order to really make them do what I want them to, I'll go beyond where they should go, and that puts a lot of torque and stress on that split ring, but that's alright. Alright, so that's what you're looking for. So if you look right down the center, here's the hook. When it comes through the wood, that's going to deflect it and turn that hook point that way. If the wood is on this side, it's going to turn it and deflect it away that way. So you're always going to have something there keeping that hook point from burying in the wood, because that is where you will put this, as deep into brush and wood as you can possibly do it, because that's where the fish are. Alright, I'm going to go very simple. I'm not going to put clevises and extra beads and two blades and two, on each one. I'm going to do a swivel on each one, but it's going to be a very simple spinnerbait. See if I can turn this to you and actually get this right. So I want it to spin. I want this, we're going to create a loop in this, right? So I want to orient this. What happens is this thing, I turn it and it bends the wire as it turns into a circle. So I don't want it to kick to the outside, because then you have sticks running along the edge and then catching it. You want it to be pointed towards the inside. This is an awkward way to hold this. This is not how I normally do this, but you get the idea. I got it in there, and I want to do this accurately, but I also want to show you. And we spin this. It comes around. You bring it right back to it. And what it makes, is a loop that almost touches. Well, almost isn't good enough. You're going to lose, you will lose your swivel that way. So I get the pliers here. And sometimes you gotta turn it a certain way. But I'm mashing it with the pliers. I don't want to mash it too far like I just did, because what it does, get out of the way, skirt, is it creates, can you see that? That little something it can catch. So I'm gonna shape that. I wanted to mash it into the main wire, but I went too far. That's alright, I'm gonna mash it down. Okay, so let me get that against a dark background. You can see that there. So we got a loop, which that is what you're gonna put the swivel on. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and get Colorado blade on there. I look at these. There's a certain way that I like to have it on there. Yep. The sides of these are a little bit different, but I don't know that it matters. But I think I like it this way, where the fat end is on the spinnerbait. So I got that blade started on there, just spin it on. Okay, and that can do what it needs to do. And then I will just push it on there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we will have our first twin spin. Complete. 7 more to go. Gonna do them in black as well. So there's one. Let me finish the other. Alright, we're done. So you can do them with whatever blades you want. I think in summertime I would want a pair of maybe Indiana blades. Well, springtime I'd want Indiana blades. Summertime I definitely want the willow, so I can burn them, so I can move them fast. But seeing as I'm going into winter, double Colorados, gonna move that nice and slow. It's just lacking one thing. Here's a scented paddlers in a color called Redfish Toad, which I think is gonna make this just about perfect. So we'll thread that on there. Just give it a little bit longer bait fish profile. I tell you, the other one that would be really good on here would be the razor shads, but I think that one is gonna look about perfect. We'll get that in the water, show you what it looks like coming through some brush, and you know, we'll go catch some fish on it. Twin spin.